See, I feel like I had that identity crisis too, because so I was born in the States, but I moved back to Sudan, spent a few years in Sudan, and then I came here, went to a predominantly white school, so they didn't care if you were African, Black, Caribbean, it was all the same to them, one Black person. And then when I came to college, I noticed that like the gap was weird, because even in high school, I started Black Student Union in my high school. And I didn't think like African Student Union, Caribbean, all of it fell under the parameter of Black for me. So Black Student Union, and one day I was complaining and my dad was like, oh, but we ain't Black, like we're African. And I was like, what's the difference? That's really when my identity crisis started, because I was like, I don't understand how it could be different for me to be Black, to be African. Who cares? It's all the same thing. We're, like you were saying, we're all seen the same way. But then when you come to college, especially, you really see that gap, right? You see, like I've had conversations with people, even in our ASU here, who are like, oh, like no, like we don't rock with the BSA kids because like we're African, they're Black. It's all under the same impression, like we are the people that are perpetuating this gap between each other. Yeah, we start off like our parents did start this gap. Fine, even before our parents, this gap was started. But we are the ones that are continuously perpetuating that gap, because like you were saying, people insulting you, you feeling like you're being insulted by somebody who looks the exact same as you, honestly. And I think all of us starting to be like, oh, it's me versus you, that's really when we start making this gap something bigger than it is.
I think it's more than just that. I feel like it's also like the fetishization of being foreign in general.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
Like, just that in general, like, definitely. Yeah, like, people just, like, I feel like it's not more, what you were saying, like, when you come to college, you want to learn more about yourself. I don't feel like it's that. I feel like it's more like, well, she said she got these 2 flags in her bio. I want to know what I am, and I want to put flags in my bio, too.
That's
like, stuff
point.
like that. Like, I feel like it's just more like fetishization of, like, everyone wants to be mixed. Everyone wants to be like, well, I'm from here and here, so my child's going to be from here, 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 here. And it's like, why? But it doesn't matter. Like, it's not going to make you any better than the other person. Like, I just feel like it's more fetishization more than trying to learn actually about the culture and about like who you actually are.
That's interesting. So he actually, the person I wanted to talk about. So this is from my Black Americans who identify as African American or Black American. Do Black people in America have our own culture? Do we have American? Okay. Okay.
That's it.
Okay, so y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna go with my one. Like, y'all think that Black people in America have culture. So when people say Black people have no culture, that's cap.
Yes, they're uneducated. It's stupidity.
A lot of the things that African Americans we say are part of Black culture here, kind of did come from Africa. Because if you think about it, I mean, we all come from Africa, right? So, like, our way, to get by, like, we took things from Africa and kind of made it our own as time went on. You know what I'm saying? The white man didn't give us candy yams. We had to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
we made things like that our own. But a lot of things, like hip hop, those things came or extensions from Africa. So I'm gonna ask it again. With that, do y'all think the culture here in America from Black people, that's ours? That's only ours?
I still think it is.
You think so? I mean, yeah. Well, like hip hop did, like that's an American thing, but a lot of the roots, like the beats and all those things, like those come from African culture. Even like the rhythms and all that stuff, that came from Africa, in my inspiration. Yeah, it's
everything came from Africa.
Yeah,
everything, whether it be our culture, like this white American culture, things in Europe, everything came from Africa. Everything. But I think making it like an extension of that, yeah, you can use that as the roots to build something up, but that's still Black American culture. And the thing that irks me a lot about Africans in general is Black Americans are so quick to allow other people to enjoy their culture with them. But Africans are so quick to be like, no, it's just ours. Like, I know Black Americans have no problem. Like you said, like, candy DMs, you tried that, right? I was, like, all that experiences have been given to me. Like, my Black friends have always been open to sharing that with me. And I know they've all experienced African Americans not being open to sharing their African culture. But then it becomes like, oh, a Black person doing, like, an African thing, that's appropriation. But we see a lot of African Americans doing Black culture, and nobody has a problem with it. It's not appropriation, and that's because people don't think Black America has their own culture, but they do, and they're always willing to share it with us. And that's really like what irks me about it, is they're willing to share their culture because they have one, even if the roots of it came from Africa. But Africans are always so hostile about sharing their own roots.
I think maybe it's because like everything, we're holding on to the last few things that we have of our own. everything that we've ever had has just been taken from us. Like, it's literally snatched from under us. And then it's like,
yeah, but
well, what do I
didn't
have?
Take it from us.
No, I know that, but I'm saying, like, in our mind, we're just so programmed to say, like, I have to hold on to it because it's the only thing I have left. Because this is all I have left. Like, looking at my country, we went from being so prosperous to where are we now? And it's so sad, but that's just because a lot of things were just snatched from us. Like, give me that. I'm taking this. So I don't think it's, like, intentional. And at other times, sometimes Black Americans don't want to really understand our culture. Like, they pick and choose what they want to understand and what they want to learn, if that makes sense. Like, if you offer a Black American African food, the first thing they're going to tell you, oh, it looks weird, or it smells weird, or I would never eat that. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to take it back.
I think it's also like a thing of wanting like recognition for something that's truly your own, because like she said, a lot of our culture has just been taken and then people don't even give us credit for it. So I think part of it comes from, we want to have something that everybody knows clearly, like, oh, this is Nigerian, or this is Ghanaian, or this is Sierra Leonean, or specifically from you, because everything we've had over the time has been taken and nobody even remembers it was ours anymore.
I feel like y'all are confusing appropriation with appreciation, because it's different. Like, we can always give recognition to something where it belongs. Like, that's okay. But like you were saying, you feel like everything's been taken from us, but y'all keep forgetting everything's been taken from Black Americans too. Like, they're fighting the same fight that we're fighting.
Right.
Us thinking like, oh, everybody keeps taking our stuff. Right. That's us. Like, I don't want to say victimizing ourselves, but that's us being like, oh, poor us, and not realizing that they're going through the same stuff, and like we're all going through the same stuff. That's, in my opinion, what's keeping this divide going. Like, people can appreciate something without it becoming theirs. And once people, like, Black Americans are sitting here being like, please, we want to learn, and we're like, no. And then that's why they're always like, okay, fine, then I don't want to learn. And then once they get something, they're like, okay, it's ours now. No, Black Americans have literally, like, from my understanding, at least the ones I've surrounded myself, have not taken our culture and been like, it's never been yours. No, even now, like Barrett was saying, they recognize that their culture comes from Africa. They're not saying that it doesn't. They're just saying that we're trying to, like, you know, make it our own, make something for ourselves, because like you guys, everything's been taken from us too. Like me and her were talking about, white people don't see us differently. We shouldn't be seeing each other differently.
To add on to a lot of what you said, because I actually agree with you. Like, if you look at the history, I definitely would say, like, Black people in America have their own, they definitely have a culture, because like I don't feel like Black people in America are given enough credit for what they had to come up from. They were literally like put into another country and dragged into slavery, like you were saying, right, and literally made a culture of their own, and they literally are not given enough credit for that. So I definitely
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I definitely would say that Black Americans definitely have culture. Like, if anybody were to say that, they'd be lying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that Black Americans can be considered like another. So like y'all are talking about pig's feet, right? I ain't never had pig in a day in my life, but it's not something that Sudan does, right?
Yeah,
that's not our own culture. Same way Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Sudan, we're all different. All I'm saying is they're another. What's the word I'm looking for? Like another constitute of that. Like Sudan is different, you know, Sierra Leone is different, Black America is different. That's all I'm saying, because like there's stuff that they have that I don't have in my culture. Right. We don't eat pig's feet. We don't actually. You guys probably have more in common in your cultural foods than you do with Sudan.
Right, because most of the slaves come from West Africa.
Right, and that doesn't happen in East Africa. Also, East Africa is predominantly Muslim. Yeah. So there's that other, like, difference between us. Like, that religion, love of religion, like, we all have that. Yeah, but you guys share a religion most likely. And, you know, Muslims from Africa don't usually share a religion with Black Americans, because Black Americans are predominantly Christian. Right. So, like, there's so many more, commonalities between you guys that you guys don't even know how to, like, a lot of people don't address than there is between West Africans and East Africans. So
I think it's also important to note that, like, we tend to, like, generalize Africa a lot, like, and it's just important to realize, like, every different area of Africa is, like, completely different. Like, East Africa is different from West Africa is different from South Africa is different from North Africa, and even within, like, West African countries, there's something, like, we eat different types of foods. Like you were saying, like, Africans eat, like, pig's feet and stuff like that. Right. I've never had chitlins, none of that. Like, we're just, like, we're all different, right, and so it's just, like.
Did you have anything to say, Oscar?
Yeah, two things. So first I want to tackle on to something you said a little bit earlier. You said that like you thought like something about like African Americans trying to like hang on, like if they're getting moved to another country, they're trying to like not so much as create their own culture, but take like remember what they have from like being in Africa. But I think you have to take into consideration when your family is snatched from where they're living, you can't like. You're not thinking about what can I remember from where I just was. Like you're thinking about like I'm here now. It's just us. We have to come up with something so that we can have something to rely on. And that's where I think that comes in with like black people, like African Americans or like black Americans having their own culture. Like we had to create something from scratch because we were literally giving nothing. And then so I think again like just that concept of like us. What you said about like appreciation, I think that's what we're doing. And then back to when you said how like you try to understand and appreciate that culture, but it's like when you're met with hostility, you don't want to like come face to face with that hostility anymore. Because like for me, my first roommate here ever was African, and now he's like my best friend, like on the male side of things. So it's like it just depends on who you encounter. And then secondly, with the like culture crisis, I think that's what happened when we were moved here. And I think I had to go through that when I first got here because I was like, wait a minute, like people are like now really genuinely appreciating African culture because where I'm from, they're like, oh, you're from Africa? Oh, you're a piece of shit. Like you're not nothing. Yeah. So I think coming from like Southern Virginia, and then coming to VCU, and they're like, it's like you actually appreciate and respect and like there's pride in that. I think that's
really
a
lot of pride.
Like yeah, and it's like I had like a culture crisis. Like, well, where the fuck am I from? What the fuck do I do? I was brought here, and while we do have a culture, it's like okay, but it's not like I want to know where I'm from in Africa because I'm trying to put up a fucking flag in my room. Like no, it's more like I want to know like my history. I want to know like where were we before like shit hit the fan. That's where it's kind of coming to. Right. But I think from your perspective, it's like, oh, they're trying to like appropriate our culture. Like, and I get that. I can see why you think like that. And I, like that's another thing is like parental upbringing. It's like if your parents are telling you go hate them, they're your parents. You're not gonna, as a child, like you're literally becoming like you're soaking up with your parents or teaching you. So I think it's all about like parental upbringing, and I think that's when you need to have the conversation with your parents. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that contributes to this divide is our parents and how they have created a divide, and we're only enhancing the divide.
And it's up to us in this room, you feel me, to flip that.
Right.
Like it's really up to like we're at the age now where there's no excuse. Right. There's absolutely no excuse. If like we have to find a way, and that's what this whole like panel is for. We have to find a way to come to some sort of understanding and common ground to like put down our pride as Black Americans, as African Americans, as Africans, put down our pride, and really because at the end of the day, shit isn't easy here, you know, for anyone of color. So we have to put down that pride, and this is a perfect place to do it because we go to a school where, you know, we have whole African student unions, we have whole Black student unions. We can literally have these conversations on a large scale basis if we wanted to. Right. If we realize how big of an issue it is and we came together, you know what I'm saying? So this is the first step. But I agree a lot because my pops is from, you know, he's from the Bahamas. So I've always had that culture, like, you know, to hang on to, you know what I'm saying? I can say I'm Bahamian, you know what I'm saying? I'm Bahamian, I'm Caribbean, all that. And I was raised as such. But for African Americans who their mom came to, from Norfolk and their dad came from, you know, like Nova or somewhere, like Americans, it's like, okay, well, I'm Black. I know that back 500 years ago, we didn't originate in this country. So it's like, there's like a kind of like a longing for belonging, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, where do I come from? You know what I'm saying? And that's, and when you're younger, of course, you don't care about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? You don't care about that stuff. It's like, oh, they're different. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of it too is Black kids wanted another Black person to put down because they were always put down as Black kids. So it's like, well, I'm American and they're African. So it's like, we'll laugh at them to prevent us being laughed at. You know what I'm saying? It's like they talk different than us. They dress different than us. Okay, well, African, you know what I'm saying? It's like it was like a mechanism to like kind of like cover up that insecurity of being a Black American and white kids putting us down. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know, is, but at this point we're grown. We have an understanding that we were kids. You know what I'm saying? We have to find ways to heal over time, and it won't take a day. It'll take time, but we have to realize there's a bigger problem here. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, We're here. We can't change that. We can't change where our parents are from. We're here. We're struggling. We're trying to make it. You know what I'm saying? So we got to come to understanding.
So I'm just gonna talk about my experience in our group chat when we had this conversation previously, and I was like, well, why can't I claim where like? So I was like, I said, if I were to do the research and actually like get a DNA test done and get all this stuff done and found out where I was from, why can't I like claim like, well, I am this? And someone was like, no, you can't claim that. Like you can't claim that because you are not from there. Like that's what they told me.
I think the term was like you're too far removed.
Yeah, I'm too far. They exactly said that I was too far removed to be able to identify with that, even though that's where my DNA says I'm from, and my lineage says I'm from. But they said I cannot claim that. So I was like, that's the first time I've heard from anyone that I could be able to like, well, research it and then be able to wear the clothing or wear whatever or do whatever.
My personal view on that is like, I don't think anyone has the right to tell you what to identify as. Like, if you found out that you're from this and you want to learn more about the culture and like wear clothing from that culture or do those things, like nobody has the right to tell you no. Like if you want to start, you know, I don't know the word for it, but like, you know, really like living that and everything, like you should be able to do that.
Yeah, which is what I believe too, but I didn't want to be the one to tell you like, well, I think I should be able to do it. Because that would be like, if it was like, if a white person was like, well, I'm like 2% this,
I see what you're saying.
I'm going to be able to wear your clothing, it would be wrong. So I didn't want to like overstep my boundaries with that. It was more of a hypothetical than anything, but like, it just was it was not just one person who said that. It was multiple people who were like, yeah, you can't do that. Like,
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I was one of them.
I'm like, you can't do that. Like, but like, I did, but then at the same time, like, you got kind of said, like, well, it makes me happy to see you do that, but then again, I can't do it for real.
Yeah,
like, so I'm like halfway, like, how do I halfway
So, like,
do
where's
that?
the line with that, though? Because, like you said, like, a white person can be like, oh yeah, I'm like 5% black. So
I was about to say
nigga,
exactly,
like,
exactly,
because you're still white. So like,
where's the line?
That's where I want to know like where the line is to be able to say like I wasn't ever going to like try to dress up in the clothes and do all of that. I just wanted to know and be like, well, I'm African American, but far like ago, my mom or whatever was whatever, and be able to know like that's where my heritage was from. But like. People were making it seem like I couldn't do that because I was too far removed.
I feel like saying like you know where you descended from is different from like you learning yesterday that you have like 50% Nigerian in you and be like, I'm Nigerian, you know what I mean? At least that's where I was coming from. Just people
but
who
you like
be
Nigerian, though?
Yeah,
like,
but it's like
partly Nigerian,
but it's like you're not, if that makes sense. It's
but
like
if you're 50%.
No. Like, sorry, genetically you are, but culturally and who you are is not. Like being African is like a part of you. It's something you're raised in. So it's like, okay, like me for example, I'm Sierra Leonean, but I'm also Senegalese from Senegal. Like my family is from there, but I wasn't raised in Senegal culture. I wasn't raised up like that. So I can't claim it and say I'm Senegalese when I really don't really know much about it. Like I can look up online and I can try their food and I can be like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so genetic makeup and cultural makeup are two different things.
So it's like, okay, genetically I can claim I'm Senegalese, but me as a person, that's not who I am.
I definitely understand that, but that's not the vibe I was getting when I like when I made that question. And like I even like said that kind of thing too. Like I know I'm not. I didn't come from that, but like I still want to know where I'm from, and I can't say like, well, I am like 50% Nigerian or whatever, but like let's say like my great grandma was like Nigerian or whatever, and they were like, no, you can't claim that, and I'm like. Well, what do you want me to claim?
Yeah,
where am I? I can't. I'm not accepted by white people. I'm accepted by Africans. Where am I?
Okay, so
I was gonna. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna just on that. So like during my freshman year when I was like kind of trying to understand that a lot, the way I kind of like settled on it was looking at it in the idea of like y'all know Darwin, the evolution dude.
Of course.
Who don't know him, bro?
I was making sure. You know how it's like right. Them birds who was like and then they got separated, and then it was like they developed different beats, right? Now, like they were from there, but they not the same birds no more. So that's real life how I look at it. So like, you know how it's like a lot of African Americans really try hard to, well, Black Americans try hard to like understand and find out where their past culture was, like prior to slavery. But real life, I like, that's why when I say I took pride in being Black American, like my culture is from like what we built up from slavery to what we are now.
And
I take that pride in that as a Black American. So like,
because it takes a lot in a person to do that.
Yeah, real life. So I do that. So even for example, like that's why me personally, I would never even try to like do that little identity thing to
like find out.
Well, no. I'm just saying.
I would too.
No, be wary though. They use your DNA for stuff, so that's the only why I would.
I would say from my experience, like I wouldn't, because like no matter what that test says, I'm still Black American.
Yeah.
And that's the culture I am, and that's what my family built on. Like that's me. So I'm gonna rep that hard, no matter what type. And then we can like we can rock together. Like you got your culture, I got my culture.
And then it's together. Then it's like you teach me about you.
Exactly.
I teach you about me.
Yeah.
Here we see each other.
Exactly. So I think that's the disconnect. They don't want to learn about you. You don't want to learn about me, and I don't want to see you. And that's the problem.
I was gonna say
Fuck them. Fuck all of them. Besides Oscar. Fuck you too.
What do you think, Rob?
Wait, you gotta edit that out, okay?
Go ahead. Looking ahead, as a college student, as a VCU student, how do we begin to close the divide between African Americans and Africans?
That really just comes down to coming together and releasing everything that we've learned in the past type. Because a lot of what we learned is from like our families, social media, and everything. But now we're all grown in the same environment, so it's basically coming together and learning each other's culture and just uplifting one another. So yeah.
I'm gonna start with Oscar and then.
Okay. I think the first step in anything, when we briefly spoke on that earlier, was respect. There is no way you can understand anybody if you don't respect them. It's just that simple. I think the moment that we start respecting each other, not just as like different cultures, as like everyone was saying earlier, but I think respecting each other as people. It's getting to that point that divide has gotten so big. It's like, well, we don't see each other as people. We just see each other by like culture, by origin story, by what like where we're from. But I think we need to recognize that we are both human beings and we're both people who deserve respect. And I don't think respect is like this privileged thing. Like we give respect.
Everyone deserves that.
Because I'm gonna respect you regardless if you respect me or not. When you don't respect me, that's your issue. But at the end of the day, me, I just feel like I'm gonna give respect because respect is what I was raised on.
So after you do that, then I would like to talk to your parents, talk to your friends, like talk to them about, have these conversations with them. I feel like these type of conversations like really enlighten people. I feel like a lot of people are very like sheltered to certain things, and like social media has like made people very sheltered to their own community and not try to like venture out. So I just feel like if you are able to, like, especially with VCU being so diverse, like I would like if you experience people from other places, I just want you to talk to them and like tell your experiences and say like what you think and just like get everybody under the same umbrella for the most part.
The conversations is really helpful because when I was going through that identity crisis in my freshman year, it was a lot like I was really at a point like I was like fuck Africans. That's how I felt at a moment in my life. But it took having conversation with close friends like Marielle and y'all in my close circle to really like discuss it and like really break down like that anger that I had for a period. Like so these discussions I think is the way to move forward with it.
Yeah, I think just communication really like and being willing to like willingness to explain stuff to people because I know a lot of people like people might be curious but people aren't willing to explain stuff like kindly to them. So like don't explain it in like a demeaning way or like oh I have to explain this to this person because they're an idiot or something like that. Like being a person who's willing to see that somebody's trying to learn about something that they don't know about and being able to in a respectful and like kind way be like okay this is what it is because I know it, I grew up in it. And then also just like Oscar said, respecting other people's stuff. Like yeah we're not the same but that doesn't mean I have to be like talk down to you because you're different from me or you have to treat me as like I'm better than you because I'm like originally from Africa and you're just like Black American, right? It's like we're both people before we're African or before
Right.
we're wherever we're from, wherever we claim. So we need to respect each other based off of that, and then be willing to educate each other on the stuff that both sides do.
I think respect, education, so learning about one another and willing to learn and teach one another, and understanding. Taking the time to understand where someone else is coming from and looking at it from a different perspective other than your own will take you a very long way. And also, since we have that gigantic group chat now, taking the time to encourage people to go to different events like ASU events and BSU events and different events to learn about the different cultures and the different people and opportunities here, I think that would be great too.
Yeah, waiting on the day the ASU, BSU just collab on one big thing.
What was it?
I'm waiting on the day it happens. I hope it happens soon, like that BSU and ASU come together and like collab on like an event, you know, for this purpose right here. Like
Right.
I wish that would happen, and it's gonna happen. So go ahead.
I think it starts from just like releasing that childhood trauma. I was gonna say that.
Healing.
Like heal from it. I'm not one to like I feel bad saying it, but like the whole African booty scratcher thing, do you live in huts thing, like we were kids. Kids are mean. It stemmed from ignorance. It stemmed from our parents teaching us the right things. Learn to release, learn to heal, and then open yourself up. Because that's the main thing. A lot of people are not open. So I feel like you need to just learn how to do so and learn about each other.
I literally was gonna say like the exact same thing. The first step is healing from your trauma, and then like having these conversations, like talking to people who are different than you, like not necessarily just talking to people in your community, like branching out. Like I think that's really important. And like after that, then it's up to you to make sure you don't pass that on. So just breaking from those traumas.
Yeah, I think I agree with everything everybody else said, and I think one point that we didn't touch on that really needs to be touched on is realizing that like our biggest commonality is that other people don't like us. That's a huge point. Like I know it took watching 13th, the documentary by Evan DuVernay about mass incarceration, for my dad to realize they see you as black, period. They don't care if you're Africans here, Leone, you know, Sudan, they don't care. It's all the same thing. We have, I want to say like one common enemy, you know, because that's a little bit extreme, but it's kind of the reality of things, you know. Everybody else has that perception of you, so once we start to realize, you know, that we can find unity in one another,
Right.
it doesn't matter what everybody else says. And I think that's where all of our problems stem from, is worrying about what everybody else says, when like in reality we just need to worry about each other.
That was a great conversation, and again, I think this is the first step right here, just opening up and having conversations. Because I learned a lot just now in this past hour talking to y'all, so it's definitely a step in the right direction, most definitely. So give yourself a round of applause. That was a great conversation. Thank y'all again for watching. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, and comment for more episodes of The Limit Squeeze. Thank y'all so much again for tuning in to
The Limit Squeeze!
Stay blessed, stay up, have a great day.
So I said,